Welcome back, Defenders. Welcome back to the global resistance. Things in the United States feel different. Talking to my family and friends across the country, talking to my friends still in the military, things today feel different than even just a week ago. We have a lot of alarming headlines to get to, but we will start with Ukraine. And President Zelensky is just going to keep repeating himself. It's now been more than a month since Ukraine offered Russia an unconditional ceasefire across the front lines. And for 36 days, the Russians have been telling the entire world no. It is now 36 days since the United States proposed a full and unconditional halt to strikes in the air, at sea, and on land. Ukraine accepted the proposal immediately. Over a month ago, Russia continues to ignore it and still feels no consequences. That is the key problem. Why isn't Russia accepting it? Doesn't Russia want peace? And if you watch this channel, you know the truth. According to Bloomberg, Putin signals he will continue killing Ukrainians until he gets what he wants, despite Trump's peace offers. The envoy's suggestion, this is Witkoff, that Ukraine must accept territorial concessions and abandon NATO aspirations after Witkoff met with Putin. And what Witkoff suggested is that the territorial boundaries of these 4 oblasts just be given to Russia for a ceasefire. As soon as Russia has these territorial boundaries, then they'll start engaging in peace talks. This is insane. This is never going to happen. The city of Zaporizhia is 700,000 people. If the Russians can get within artillery range of the city of Dnipro, then they will start shelling it. This is a population of 1 million people. Sloviansk and Kramatorsk, these are fairly large towns, as well as the city of Kherson, which Russia has been mercilessly bombing for 2 years now. Ukraine is not going to let the Russians get back on the other side of the river. So Trump's Ukraine ceasefire is slipping away. The American president increasingly looks like Russia's willing dupe. This is an article in The Economist. So let's recap the last 3 months of Trump's presidency. He went from, "I'll end the war in 24 hours," to a more reasonable number, "I'll end the war in 100 days." This Sunday, April 20th, will be Easter, and this was Trump's goal, to get a grand peace summit with Putin, and they would announce the end of the war, and Russia would get all these concessions. They could keep all the land they've already taken. Ukraine can never join NATO, blah, blah, blah. But Russia won't even take that deal, and Trump knows it. So now Trump is just saying, this is Biden's war. I just got here. What do you want me to do? So Trump has changed his language. It's easy to see. He's no longer talking about a ceasefire. He's no longer talking about a peace deal. He's just trying to figure out a way to make it end. And he doesn't care what happens to Russia, and he doesn't care what happens to Ukraine. He just wants this issue to go away, and he now believes the only way for this to happen is if Russia just annihilates Ukraine and takes everything they want to take. And Trump officials are fed up with Europe's efforts to strengthen Ukraine. This came out in The Economist article. The Economist reports that Pentagon officials have reached out to an unspecified allied state, telling them to put an end to their continued arms supply to Ukraine. That allied state rejected the request. The rumor is this was the UK. People at the Pentagon told their counterparts with the United Kingdom to stop sending military aid to Ukraine. And the UK told the United States to bugger off. As they should. This is outrageous. And this is not going to end. Donald Trump and MAGA, this is a global effort in cooperation with the Russians to destroy liberal Western democracy. They want to just end it everywhere. It's not allowed to exist anywhere because that is a threat to autocracy. Autocracy in Russia, autocracy here in the United States. So MAGA, J.D. Vance, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, they're never going to stop until they end liberal Western democracy in France, in Germany, in the UK, in Canada, in Australia, in Japan, and South Korea. Eventually, they'll get to you guys as well. So Starmer was told that the UK must repeal hate speech laws that protect LGBT people, or else they will lose a trade deal. MAGA doesn't care. They will use every tool available to them economically, militarily, to punish anyone who protects LGBT people or protects migrants or refugees or anyone that J.D. Vance and Elon Musk hate for some reason. And this is not going to get better until Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are removed from office. This has to happen this year. So to my friends in the UK, what do you think? And according to a YouGov poll, who would you rather have as a closer trading partner with the United Kingdom? 57% say the EU, 16% side with the United States and MAGA, 9% neither, 18% say they don't know. I don't know who America's friends are. It's not Canada. We want to invade and subjugate Canada and then steal their resources. So I guess we're moving in this direction. We're not even the United Kingdom is an ally of the United States, either in military, politics, trade, culture. Like, this is shocking. This is a serious wake-up call when the United States loses Great Britain as an ally. This is what Trump and MAGA are doing. According to the Washington Post, Trump administration proposes ending NATO funding. The proposed elimination of U.S. support for NATO comes as the alliance faces unprecedented challenges from Russia. Yep, this is going to eventually happen. This will probably happen before Trump is removed from office, but the United States is just going to stop all functions in NATO. I don't think Trump will officially leave because that would require, I believe, a vote in the Senate that he can't get anything voted on in Congress. So he's just going to stop funding it. And I think when the Supreme Allied Commander of NATO retires, Trump's just not going to replace him. It's either going to be left vacant or probably somebody from the UK will be appointed to that position. So to all my friends in a NATO country, NATO allies are reconsidering F-35 purchases and instead are turning to Swedish jets amid Trump's unpredictability. Canada and Portugal have already expressed a desire to not get the F-35 and instead get the Swedish Gripen fighter. Yes, this is the correct course of action. But if you're a democratic country, buy as many weapons as you can from other democratic countries that are not the United States. Anyone in the EU or South Korea is a powerhouse. I think South Korea is going to be getting a lot of business from European nations. And I don't know what to tell you guys. The United States is now your enemy. This was a recent UN vote yesterday, and the United States voted against a UN resolution on cooperation with the Council of Europe because it included the words condemnation of Russian aggression against Ukraine. For that reason, the United States voted against this resolution with Russia, Belarus, North Korea, Eritrea, Mali, Nicaragua, Niger, and Sudan. If the United States wants to say it's neutral in negotiations, then they can abstain from these resolutions. China abstained. India abstained. Cuba abstained. But the United States wanted to send the message. We got your back, Russia. Russia, we're on your side. So if you're American and you're confused who are our allies, it's who we vote with in the United Nations. So America's allies now are Russia, Belarus, North Korea, Niger, Sudan. It gets worse. U.S. office that counters foreign disinformation being eliminated. Conservative critics have long accused the State Department's Counter Foreign Information Manipulation and Interference Hub of helping to censor the American right. A threat to our democracy, Trump administration shutters Counter Foreign Disinformation Center. So this was the government agency at the State Department in charge of countering Chinese propaganda, Russian propaganda, Iranian propaganda. And Trump just shut it down. He closed it. Because they view Russian propaganda as the same as conservative talking points, MAGA talking points. America's screwed, yo. I make these videos, I read these headlines, I try to stay informed, but I don't have any good news concerning my government. Russia is asking the United States to let it use frozen assets to buy Boeing planes. So Trump has not released the 7 or 8 billion in frozen Russian assets in American banks. And right now Russia is saying, okay, well, if you don't want to unfreeze it, can we use that money to buy some planes? That's basically unfreezing. This money should be going to Ukraine, either to help them win this war or as reparations. But yeah, I think Donald Trump eventually will agree to this. I don't know why he wouldn't. And our government is becoming increasingly staffed with Russian agents. This is Ed Martin. This is Donald Trump's pick to be the U.S. attorney in Washington, D.C., and he went through his Senate Judiciary hearing to get confirmed and never disclosed that he had appeared on RT News 150 times. The guy that Trump picked to be his top lawyer in Washington, D.C. is a Russian agent. He has appeared, not like a dozen times like a decade ago. This guy has been on RT News as a paid contributor 150 times, and he didn't want to tell the Senate Judiciary during his confirmation hearing. He lied about it. And he's probably still going to be confirmed. It is so insane here in the United States. This is Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski. She is a traditional conservative Republican senator from the state of Alaska. And this was at a constituent hearing, like a town hall. I'll link the entire clip down below. The audio is very soft, so I'm going to read what she says. But she's asked this question: what do you have to say to people who are afraid, or who represent people who are afraid? She then just responds to the audience: we are all afraid, okay? It's quite a statement. There's a lot of pauses because she's being very cautious about what she says, but this is the truth. But we're in a time and place where I don't know. I certainly have not. I have not been here before. And I'll tell you, I'm oftentimes very anxious myself about using my voice because retaliation is real, and that's not right. This is a Republican senator saying that she can't use her voice, she can't speak out, she can't represent her people for fear of retaliation from Donald Trump. I'm sure she receives death threats. I think Lisa Murkowski was one of the senators who voted to impeach Trump back in 2021, but why is she still in the party? Why is she still in the Republican Party when the Republican Party left her? These people are cowards, desperately hoping to hold on to their seats, hold on to their paychecks, hold on to their power and influence. And they're just hoping something bad happens to Trump, and then they can survive in the party. But we're past that point. These Republican congressmen and Republican senators who know this is all insane, they have to officially leave the party. They can declare they're an independent, and they can say they're going to vote with and caucus with the Democrats until Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Elon Musk are removed from office. That's what they have to do. But even to this point, they're still not willing. So this is the story that is terrifying people. The story of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. In my last video, I said he came to the United States in 2018. That was a mistake. He's been here for 18 years. He was granted protected legal status as an undocumented migrant 18 years ago. He's married to an American citizen. The guy's in his 30s. He's got 3 American children. And he was picked up off the streets and disappeared to a murder camp in El Salvador. And Trump is lying, saying that he's a MS-13 gang member. Therefore, it's okay. But this is the U.S. Department of Homeland Security official report on Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and he has no criminal history. never been arrested, never been processed, never been tried, never been found guilty of anything. He is a Maryland father of 3 trying to survive in America. And he was just deported to a murder camp in El Salvador. And Trump is promising Americans are next. He's calling us, people who criticize Trump, homegrowns, but he's promising we're next. He's promising and we're next. And this place is called CICAT. I don't know what they're calling it. Centro de Confinamiento del Terrorismo. And we don't know what really goes on in this prison to these people. We're getting these propaganda clips. MAGA influencers are allowed to go down there and film to show all the bad guys in the concentration camps. But is this man still alive? Is Kilmer Abrego Garcia still alive? The dictator of El Salvador will not show him on camera, will not give an update. And we had a senator from Maryland go down to El Salvador to try to get his release. And the dictator of El Salvador is saying he's not releasing him because Trump is paying him to hold him. There is a financial incentive to imprison completely innocent people. If he's still alive. He might have been murdered the same night he showed up at this death camp in El Salvador. And this is where Donald Trump, every day, is giddy, where he's going to send homegrowns next. People who oppose him, people he doesn't like. Combine that with the tariff nonsense that we've been covering the last couple weeks, and U.S. consumer confidence has fallen to a 45-year low. American consumers are more scared today, more apprehensive about their financial future than any time since basically the oil shocks of the 1970s. Americans are more pessimistic today than they were during COVID, or the housing crash, or the dot-com bubble. This is how bad Donald Trump is screwing up the economy. The U.S. economy was growing at 3% real GDP when Biden was still president, and now Goldman Sachs is reducing their expectations for U.S. growth basically to 0. Because of Donald Trump's disastrous policies, we will have a recession this year. A recession, by definition, is 2 quarters of negative growth. We won't find this out until Q3, so early September. But yeah, things are bad, and they're only going to get worse. So Trump is freaking out because tariffs were supposed to be beautiful. Tariffs were supposed to be the greatest thing in the world, and it's blowing up in his face. So he's looking to blame the Federal Reserve chairman. He says the European Central Bank is expected to cut interest rates for the 7th time, and yet too late Jerome Powell of the Fed, who is always too late and wrong, yesterday issued a report which was another and typical complete mess. Oil prices are down, because Trump is crashing the global economy. Groceries, even eggs, are down. That's a lie. Egg prices today are at an all-time high. And the U.S. is getting rich on tariffs. False. The United States is losing horribly in this tariff war. And I want to remind everyone that Jerome Powell is a Trump appointee. Donald Trump, in his first term, appointed Jerome Powell as Fed chairman, and then Biden kept him. He renewed his term. So the president can't fire the Federal Reserve chairman, but Trump's breaking the law in every other way. So I think eventually he will. I mean, he's going to start attacking Jerome Powell every single day and try to get rid of him so that he can control the money supply. He himself can control interest rates, quantitative easing, issuing debt. It's just going to get more insane. So this trade war with China is going to cripple the United States. I don't have any good news on this. China is seeing weakness from Trump, and Trump didn't actually want this. It's obvious that Trump was looking to pick a fight and then get a symbolic concession. Trump didn't actually want a real 145% trade war with China. What Trump wanted was to look tough, to sound tough, and for China to do something symbolic to make Trump look cool. And Xi of China is saying no. The Chinese are not going to tolerate it. They're not going to debase themselves to make Trump look tough in order to make these tariffs to go away. So China is going to war, economic war against the United States. The first thing they did is they shut off the exports of rare earth minerals. And rare earth elements are in all of our most highly complex electronics. U.S. inability to replace rare earth supply China poses a threat to the defense industry here in the United States. China has also canceled all their orders from Boeing because of the tariffs. I guess this will be more business for Airbus in Europe, but Boeing could go bankrupt again. There's a lot of airlines and airports in China, and they were buying a lot of planes, and now they're not going to buy any. China pivots from the United States to Canada for more oil as a trade war worsens. So this was easy money. This was easy money for the United States to partner with Canada. Canada's tar sand oil fields are up here in Alberta. And all you have to do is ship or pipe it to refineries somewhere in the United States. This gives an oil surplus for the United States to export. So the United States is net neutral for energy, but we do import from Canada so that we can then export to Europe or South America or wherever. And because Donald Trump has declared economic war on Canada, this is forcing Canada and China to now cooperate. So the Chinese are trying to build an economic cooperation with the Canadians. This is really the only option for Canada. If Canada's oil comes out of Alberta, they can't take it east. This is too far to pipe it or ship it to the Hudson Bay. But if they go through the mountains in British Columbia and they can get it on a ship in order to get it to China, this is Canada's next best option if the United States is being hostile to them. This is bad for America. I don't know how to explain this any easier to MAGA. What does China want? How can Trump get out of this situation? How can Trump end this trade war with China? And China wants to talk to Trump, probably about Taiwan. We don't have any official statements, but this is the speculation. Xi of China is not going to resume the sale of rare earth elements. He's not going to start buying Boeing planes. He's not going to buy oil or lift the retaliatory tariffs until Trump gives him a guarantee that the United States will not interfere if China invades Taiwan. I don't think I've talked a lot about Taiwan recently, but yes, I support the people of Taiwan. And this is not some insignificant island in the Pacific. It's 23 million people. The population of Taiwan relative to a European country is massive. If Taiwan was a member of the EU, it would be a smaller population than Poland, but a larger population than the Netherlands or Romania. It's a lot of people, and they're an economic powerhouse. So China wants the island for their wealth and resources, but it's the strategic positioning. Japan, through the Philippines, this is called the first island chain. American geopolitical strategy since China went communist, was to box in China, stop them from getting out into the Pacific by controlling the first island chain. We're not hostile to China. Nobody is going to invade or attack China. We're trying to stop China from invading and attacking all of their neighbors, which is what fascist countries do. Xi is a dictator. He thinks he's basically a living god. And yes, I think China is going to, within this century, of course, go for it. Do what Nazi Germany did. Do what Imperial Japan did. Anytime you have an autocracy with wealth and resources and they think they can get away with it, it's the same pattern of empire repeating. The United States, with the Bretton Woods Agreement, tried to break this historical pattern of empires continuously expanding until they collapse and break up. It's bad because people die. Everyone has a higher standard of living and a better quality of life if we just stop with the whole empire thing. and trying to invade and subjugate our neighbors. But Donald Trump and MAGA want to do the exact same thing that China wants to do and the exact same thing that Russia is doing today. Let's give an update on the mineral talks. US-Ukraine talks on minerals going in a positive mood. Yeah, Zelensky is lying, but this is a delay tactic. President Zelensky he hired an American law firm to negotiate with the Treasury Department to change the terms of the deal. We don't know what changes have been made specifically, except for this. According to Bloomberg, the United States has reduced Ukraine aid calculation to $100 billion in the mineral deal negotiations. The United States lowered its estimate from $300 billion. Following a round of negotiations in Washington last week, Trump's administration reduced its estimate for assistance to $100 billion, which is closer to Ukraine's own estimate of $90 billion. Do you guys remember that first month and a half where Trump was just lying every day, saying that America had given Ukraine $300 billion? Well, yes, Trump lies about everything every day. And I guess in the mineral deal, it's going to get reduced to $100 billion? We don't know what the final details are. If Zelensky says it's good, then I'll support it. But yeah, I don't trust anything Donald Trump says or does. He's working for the Russians. What we need is to just, when I say we guys, what Ukraine and the European Union needs to do is become completely separate and independent from the United States. I understand that's difficult, but it's the only way Russia will be defeated. Ukraine domestically produces 40% of the weapons used on the front lines, and this is going to go up. Countries are giving direct investments. This was the Danish model of just give Ukraine money so they can build their own factories, they can source their own materials, they can hire their own employees. And Ukraine has a massive military now. They're developing their own military-industrial complex, and they need to be able to sustain themselves without American manufacturing. The problem is there are just some weapon systems that Ukraine can't replace. Without U.S. supplies, Ukraine's Patriot systems will become piles of metal, unable to stop Russian ballistic missiles. Air defense is the weakness. This is to develop the Patriot air defense system. This was decades of research, development, technology to get to this point. Ukraine can't do that over the span of a year while fighting a war simultaneously. So Ukraine needs more and better air defense systems. And the Russians aren't making any progress on the ground. They're not advancing at all anymore. So the only thing they can do to boost the morale of the Russian people is just commit acts of terrorism. This was the city of Dnipro. Massive Shahid drone attack, just slamming into residential areas, causing fires. The Russians are just trying to kill as many people as possible. Can't show dead bodies, can't show pictures and videos of people in distress or people suffering. But here is what President Zelensky has to say about the strikes on Dnipro last night. It was a difficult night for Dnipro. A Russian drone strike hit the city. They targeted ordinary residential buildings, ordinary civilian infrastructure. The rubble is still being cleared. Currently, 16 people are in city hospitals. 28 were injured, including 4 children. All of them are receiving assistance. This is the city of Kherson. This is the city that Russia claims is theirs. And they're just launching guided bombs across the river to blow up apartment complexes. It's just terrorism. There's no goal. There's no point. Putin doesn't know how to militarily win, so he's just going to be a terrorist against civilians until something. I don't know. Ukraine is never going to surrender. I wouldn't. No American would surrender to this kind of brute force and depravity. Russia is spending $22 million per day on military recruitment. That's not salary. That's just sign-up bonuses. Russia's mass military recruitment efforts are becoming increasingly costly as the war in Ukraine drags on for a fourth year, with the state shelling out some 2 billion rubles or 22 million US per day on sign-up bonuses for new recruits alone. So Uncle Vlad is making it rain all across Russia with these exorbitant Russian salaries and these huge sign-up bonuses and the death bonuses when they die. This is what is causing massive inflation in Russia. Russia's inflation stays above 10% in March. It's never going to get better. And even if the war were to abruptly end and all these salaries were to be reduced and the sign-up bonuses stopped, I don't know. I can't imagine what it feels like living in Russia right now when a $2,000 a month military salary is exorbitant. With inflation, it gets smaller every year, but compared to the average Russian salary, that is still a lot of money, especially for the impoverished people who don't live in the Moscow ring. It doesn't make a difference, though. All of these people are going to be annihilated. Ukraine wipes out Russian motorcycle-led assault, destroying 40 vehicles. Every day. I see these videos every day of Russians moving in columns in broad daylight and then just being annihilated by FPV drones. Used to be landmines and artillery, but the number one killer for Ukraine now is FPV drones. Let's get to the good news for Ukraine. One piece. Italy transfers $28 million to restore Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Thank you so much to the Italians. I also want a quick mention, if you're American, I know there are some international gatherings and protests, but the most important ones are here in the United States. If you have time, this Saturday, this is in 2 days, April 19th, go to the website 50501-5051 to find an event or organize an event. Now, not all the events for April 19th are through this organization or on their website. So if you want to attend an April 19th protest, just Google April 19th protest and then your city, and you can find the local protests. Whatever your primary issue is, go out and fight for it. Bring a sign, dress up, bring your friends. Just go out there for a couple hours. Take some pictures, take some videos, share them on social media. Let your family and friends know you care about preserving American democracy. You care about Ukraine. You care about human life, people, decency, personal liberty. Final video I want to share with you is the Prime Minister of Estonia. This is Kristen Mikhail, and he took a moment to advocate for the children, all of the tens of thousands of Ukrainian children that the Russians have abducted.
Russia shows no mercy, not even to children. Unofficially, up to 200,000 have been taken as if the trophies, deported, re-educated, erased. We know the names of nearly 20,000 children. Only 1,300 have made it home. Estonia remembers. 76 years ago, Soviets deported over 20,000 of us. The youngest was just 3 days old. Only 8 years earlier, they had already deported over 10,000. Most of them never returned. If war crimes go unpunished, they repeat. We must make sure that this time Russia will not get away with this. Help Ukraine win. Help bring the kids back. Their future depends on us.
Ukraine will never stop until they get all of their children returned. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.